Hello everybody in the software engineering class. In this video, I'm going to give you a little bit of help with assignment number 6. So assignment number 6 is on JSP and Servlets. And so let's take a look at these exercises. So exercise number 1 is getting used to JSP. I'm going to do something similar for number 1 for you. And then you're going to take this pattern and hopefully modify it for part B, and maybe modify it for part C, and etc. and so forth. So the first part, A, B, C, D, is all in JSP, and I'm going to let you figure out how to do that. So you're going to need to explore a little bit on changing the font color, but I'm going to do a huge thing for you on exercise 2A and 2B. So I'm practically going to do it for you. So if you're watching this video, you're in great shape for completing assignment number 6. I will leave you some challenging things to do from exercise 1. However, I'm going to show you exactly how to do the exercise 2 section here. And we will even convert it to a servlet in part B. So, all right, so let's take a look at it. So I put together some exercises for you, some calisthenics for you on JSP. So if you go into the 401 folder, and you go into examples, and you go into JSP, you're going to see exercise 2A and 2C. So exercise 2A. I think this is actually 2B, but we'll see. And that might actually be 2B. We'll just take a look here. So what do we have? JSP exercises.pdf. This is the one we're going to look at first. So in here, there's some pictures and then there's some questions. For example, we've already done this one, so I'm not going to do this one again, but write a program to display a hello world message to the web browser. In addition, display the host name and the session ID. Write JSP code using HTML code. All right. So here it is here. The solution is given for you. You would cut and paste this code right here, stick it in a JSP file, and it would produce this result. So it says hello world, and it says the host name and the session ID. And it's using the host name here by request.getHost, a remote host, and then get session ID. So I'm not expecting you to know how to do this stuff. I'm just showing you some examples of some cool tricks that you could do. So number 2 says write a program using JSP to calculate the sum of numbers from 1 to 25. Well, here's your code here. And so if we just take this one for example, copy it. Let's go down to our, I'm going to create a new project here. I'm going to say create a new dynamic web project. I'm going to call this new project assignment number 6. And if you want to do the entire assignment in a project like this and just send me assignment number 6 project, you could have all the parts for assignment number 6 in it. I'm going to go next, I'm going to go next, I'm going to generate that web XML deployment descriptor, click on finish. So let's see. And if I were doing this number by number, I could just do, you could send me the JSP files or you could send me the project. It's completely up to you in terms of what you're going to turn in. But for example, on here, the way I could approach this is in the web content, I could say, well, let's see, which one do I want to do? I want to do 1A. So I could actually just call it 1A. So I can do this. I can just say file new other and give me a JSP file. Next, and I'm going to call this one 1A. 1A. And click on finish. Now in the 1A code, which is 1A right here, if I open it up, I see it's in here, under 1A. I'm going to actually put this code in for that other example I just showed you. So edit, paste. So this is a JSP page that displays the sum. So I'm going to put here displays sum. So this is pretty easy code. So we've got a little header, head H1 that comes up here, and we have a opening JSP tag, and I'm just going to kind of fix the formatting a little bit, make it look good. Does a little sum, and then it prints out. At the end, we got a little closing H. You can have it word wrapped. You can have it not word wrapped. Completely up to you. And we'll just make it look like that. All right, so this little program starts and defines integer sum as 0, and then for numbers equal for integer numbers equal to 1, a number less than or equal to 25, number plus plus, sum is equal to sum plus the number. So it's going to sum up the numbers between 1 and 25, and it's going to print it to the screen. So if I run this guy, let me save it. If I run this guy, he is going to print to the screen that is displaying sum, and then it's going to print out displaying sum, and then it's going to say the sum of numbers from 1 to 25 is 325. So this is very similar to what you're doing for number 1, actually. So for number 1 of the assignment, you're going to write a simple JSP program, just like we just did a few seconds ago. In fact, you could use that same page that prints out a series of consecutive numbers by using a Java loop construction. Well, that's what we just did. And the output could be, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you could just modify this example. And this is what you're doing. So for the purposes of the assignments, just so you know what you're doing with this code, is you're changing the Java code. Change the Java code. So, you know, what is this one? 1 through 10. So for, let's go less than or equal to 10. Number plus plus. Then I can just, like, you know, use an out.print line here. Print. Let's just do out.print. And then I'll just print out number. Oops. If we did that, we have this print line puts it on a new line. This is gonna print them all out. Here, we'll just take out the, I could leave the sum in there. We're gonna get them all concatenated together. So let's see if we run it now. You can see our changes will take place dynamically. Oops, it won't because I didn't save it. So out.print, do a print line actually. If we do an out.print line, if I saved it actually and ran it, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, actually, here, I'll even do the assignment for you. We don't really need to do the sum here. We don't need to do the sum here. Let's just do this. I'll even make it cleaned up for you. There we go. There we go. Save. And let's see. I thought that the print line put a line return in, but it doesn't appear to be doing that, so it's good. There it is. Display. Well, you could take this out, remove that, but you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so that is exactly the answer. That is the answer to number 1A. Well, you can put the commas in there, but I'll let you figure out how to concatenate with the commas in there. Plus, you probably want to pull out this here. Just take this line out there too. So you could print, you know, well, I'm not going to show you how to do it. You know, you can figure out how to do it. You're basically going to put a comma in there by putting a string for a comma. Just do another one. So out.print. I guess I am doing it. Comma. There we go. Or we can actually concatenate it here if you wanted to as well. If you did that, we'll just take a look at the behaviors to see how it's working. And look at that. Well, you have a comma at the end, but it's okay. So that's how you're answering the questions. And so that is the answer to question number 1A. You're going to do 1B and 1C on your own, and 1D on your own. So see if you can figure out how to do those. And then eventually you're going to go into generating a random number table. Okay, so I'm going to show you this one. This is exercise 2A. Exercise 2A I actually did for you. Whoops, you don't want my YouTube video, do you? Let's see. Exercise 2A.jsp.txt. So this is a JSP file. Copy. And I'm going to stick it in here and I'm going to call it 2A. So web content, file new. I'm taking all the fun out of this for you. I'm actually showing you the solution to this. And the file is still there. So you can go in there and use it if you want. But it should hopefully give you some ideas. I'm trying to make this easier for you. Plus I'm also seeing who's watching the videos. Because if you're watching the videos, you're going to get the code for it. If you're not watching it, you're going to struggle with it, probably. All right, so what do we got here? I'm going to run 2A so you can sort of see what we're talking about here. And I went over the assignment in the last video, by the way. But it was kind of a quick run through. So run as, run on the server. You know what? I didn't save it again. File, save. I'm going to have to change my settings around one of these days. Make sure you save it before you run it. There we go. So I have trial 1, trial 2, trial 3. I have the horizontal sum, so 4 plus 1 is 5. And the horizontal average, the average of trials 1, 2, and 3 is 1.67. Down at the bottom here, I've got the vertical sums, and I got the vertical average. So this column's got the vertical sums, this one's got the vertical average in it. And so what are you doing? You're writing a JSP page that presents 75 random numbers. Well, this hasn't got 75. This one's got, I don't know how many are in here actually. Good question. How many are in here? Let's see. And here we've got, let's see. We've got a table, and the reason why I'm showing this to you is because some of you don't know how to do HTML code, but this is what's creating the table. And we have trial 1, trial 2, trial 3, and these are the table headers, horizontal sum, vertical sum. So this will give you the table code. And this is doing 28 characters. So you can adjust this. It's doing 28. So you can adjust it to do 75. So I'll have you do that. So you want to do 75 instead of 28. Random numbers between 1 and 10. In a table with 5 columns and 28 rows as follows. Actually, this is doing, presents 75 random integer numbers. Yikes. Okay, so we have 28 rows as follows. My bad. Here the rows are 28. This is correct. This is actually done. This is the assignment's done for you. So let's see. They are listed in 3 columns with the sum and the average of the random numbers of a particular row given by the last 2 columns. The headers are going to be trial 1, trial 2, trial 3, horizontal sum, horizontal average. That's our headers over here. If we take a look at this. So, and now we have finally the sum and the average of the 3 columns are printed in the last 2 rows according to the headers. So we have the vertical sum and the vertical average that are given in the 4th column, which is down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4th column, we have the vertical sum, vertical average. So yeah, the assignment's done for you. This exercise is done for you. So let's take a look at the code real quick here. And the reason why I'm doing this for you is to see who's watching the video, because I'm going to give you the code. But the other thing too is you guys don't know, you probably don't know the HTML parts of this. You should know the Java stuff, and then if you do know the Java stuff, it's pretty easy. It's the HTML stuff I want you to look at. So what the purpose is, I want you to take a look at this example, and it will also iterate the points that I'm making between the differences between JSP and servlets. Because in the next example, we're just going to turn this over and put it into a servlet. But we're setting the background color, and this is how you set the background color of a table, by the way. And you can use this code to create a table for some of the other questions that you need to answer in part 1. This is going to show you how to do the table. So we have integer x, y, and z. We have a 2-dimensional array for the table. We have a sum, we have an average, we have a string that's going to hold the average string, the column sum, the column average string, and we have a loop. You're noticing that this is inside of a JSP tag, and this is the closing JSP tag down here. And we have some HTML code to close the table down here. So inside of the code, this is the calculation to produce the numbers. We're going to populate it with using math.random, and it's kind of sloppy because I did not import math.random up here. You probably could, but it is part of the standard library, so it does work. But it's probably better to use a compiler directive to import the math library, or package, I should say. And we're just doing a quick sum here. We're doing an average. We divide them by 3 because there's 3 of them. We're printing it out. That stuff's pretty trivial. Then we're going to close the table. And then we're going to add the column average and that column information underneath it. So we're adding more information, and then we're going to close. So we have another table underneath it that's right bumped up against it. That it's got so we have a couple of tables going on here. Hold on a second. This is where I wanted to go. So again, another creation with table rows with no table headers, but we just have the data coming up in here. So this code here is going through the excuse me. I've got too many screens open. Let's see. Let's go back to this one. This code here is adding the rows at the end of the table, and then we're closing the table. So we have, this is the main body of the table that's being populated with the trials, the 3 trials that are going on with the random numbers. And then this is the information. So this here, we've got a closing bracket for the closing table, which is JSP. So it kind of gives you a nice example about how the JSP code looks. And so I want you to spend some time going over this, playing around with it, see if you can change a few things about it if you want, or otherwise, I mean, just don't cut and paste it, turn around and turn it in. See if it works. Just get it to work, run it, examine it, see if you can learn from it. It's going to show you a few things about how to create a table. The Java stuff, this code you could do on your own. It's pretty simple, actually. The Java programming part of it is pretty simple. In printing out the column information, it's using the equals to print it out here, so it's demonstrating a few of the different tags, but it's pretty basic code. That one is 2A. In 2B, you're going to implement exercise 2A as a servlet. So there really isn't a 2C. So I will relabel this one. I called it 2C, but I will relabel it 2B because there's no C. So this is just 2B. So 2A is JSP, 2B is as a servlet. So if we're going to implement it as a servlet, then we're going to take the code. Let's see if I can find my website again. Not that one. Let's see. This one. And this one here is what I'm saying. I'm going to call it exercise 2B. I'm going to relabel it because it's labeled incorrectly. But let's go ahead and cut and paste this out. This is the identical code. So what I did here was to take the code that was in the JSP file and put it in the doGet. So the doGet's got the code in there. So what's going to end up happening is when you run this servlet, the do-get's going to run automatically. So this is extending HTTP servlet, and it's going to we got a regular old default constructor going on. It's not doing anything. And then we have the do-get. So the do-get method is going to run. We're just going to call it on its own. We're not going to call it from an HTML file. So let me demonstrate it. So I don't know if I copied it, so let's just copy it again. So in the project here, I am going to go over to the JSP file, Java resources, click on the SRC folder, file new. I'm going to do a servlet, and I'm going to call the servlet, what am I going to call it? 2B, because it's really 2B. It's not 2C, it's 2B. And it won't let me call it 2B. So I'm going to call it servlet. Servlet B. Servlet 2B. Servlet 2B. That makes sense. And let me just make sure I got everything here. Yeah, I do. Okay, just press on finish. And in my servlet 2B, I might have to change the name of my my object in here. Pasting the code in there. And I can't call it exercise 2C. It really isn't actually. It's called servlet. I changed the name to servlet 2B. And let me change the constructor here. We're not even using it really. There we go. All right. Unless you want to call it that. Oh, here, let me change it here then too. Servlet 2B. All right, so I got the web servlet is servlet 2B, and it extends HTTP servlets. And so in the code, in the do-get, instead of using the out.print, it's using a response get writer, and it's going to append, and this is the table that is in the JSP code that I was pointing out. This is copied and pasted from the JSP. This is the source code that's in the JSP file. This is the closing HTML code that's now using response.getWriter. So the reason why it's using a response.getWriter is because we are working with Java first. This is a .java file. And we're putting the HTML code inside of the .java. And we're not putting Java inside of an HTML code. So because we're going the other way around on this one, we need to use a Java technique. The Java technique is response.getWriter. I'm going to have some more lecture stuff for you on this next week, but I wanted to make sure you had enough information to do the assignment with. But this is the identical code, and it is put in the do-get method. Now the do post, you don't have to implement both of them, but you need both of them in here. And so the do post is just calling the do get, which is kind of like a circle, I guess. And I'm going to talk about get and post, and I'm going to talk about some of this other stuff next week. And we can see, actually, you can see it throws a servlet. If you remember the exception handling step, this one throws a servlet extension, and it throws an IO exception as well. So let's see if this thing runs. So I'm going to save it. And I'm going to close all this stuff so it makes it a little bit easier for me to see the output. And let's see what happens. I didn't change the deployment descriptor, so I guess we're going to see what happens. It worked. It worked. Woo. So the Eclipse project automatically updated that descriptor for me, so I didn't have to do anything for it. But so we have this code over here. This is the servlet 2B, and it's done in Java. And if I go back to the 2A over here, and run the 2A, so we can sort of see them side by side, You see, there's a little bit of difference because the 2A is done with HTML code. And so we've got a border that goes around. And you probably could make this one look like this one if you added the border to the HTML code. But you've got the same results. It's the same code with the same table, with the same calculations, with the same random number generator, etc. and so forth. But this one's running as JSP and this one's running as a servlet. And so I want you to, and the exercise here is I want you to take a look at the code and see if you can decipher it. The Java part you can get. That stuff you know already. This stuff you know already. It's this taking a look at the response and the get writer and kind of educating yourself on what the pattern looks like, how the exceptions are thrown. The do get and the do post are what you're gonna want to be familiar with in terms of the programming aspect. Now I do have a lecture on this that is in the Servlet folder. So if we go back to the examples folder and we go into servlets, which is right here, there is a PowerPoint called servlets.ppt, and I'm going to give you some more servlet examples and some more servlet information next week. But I wanted to kind of give you these little tidbits today so that you can start working on assignment number 6 and start working on getting your development environment configured. Hopefully you've got it configured already, and start working on that. And remember, I'm going to change this one to a B instead of a C. I'll do that as soon as I stop this video. And you can use these for your assignment. You're more than welcome to cut and paste and use these and put it all together. When you're all done, you can send me the project, or you can just send me the individual files if you want. You're going to have a couple more here because there's 1 B, C, and these you have to do on your own. I'm not going to do the whole assignment for you. You're going to need to do the other parts of exercise 1. The only one I'm doing really for you is the part 2, because I think due to the nature of how this course ended up, we're not getting the same kind of face contact or instruction that we used to have during the face-to-face classes. So I'm trying to make your life a little bit easier by still accomplishing the same goal, but giving you a little bit more help so that you can kind of get you in the right direction. And I will be discussing servlets, and I'll be discussing this do get and this do post next week in the servlet lecture. But for right now, this should get you started with assignment number 6. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. And again, feel free to use these examples in your assignment number 6. That's why I'm giving them to you. I pretty much did part 2A and part 2B for you. Don't simply just give them back to me. At least see if you can get them loaded. You don't have to do any changes to them, but at least try them out, look at them, review them, see if you understand how it's working, make any modifications that you want to make it your own, or I guess you could just give me my code back. But you're kind of on the honor system with that. I do want you to take a look at it because it might help you, especially if you plan on taking the web class in the future. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and stay tuned. We'll see you for another video soon. Thanks for watching, and have a good rest of the week.